The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra. Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra is an ether Tatva Nakshatra ruled by Jupiter, with Aja Ekapada, the one-footed serpent deity of transformation, as its presiding force. When Venus is placed in Purva Bhadrapada, intimacy becomes paradoxical, at once deeply spiritual and intensely private, combining the need for transcendental bonding with inner emotional withdrawal. Venus here longs for soul-deep connection, rooted in wisdom, mystery, and shared philosophy. As an ether Tatva Nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapada accommodates all Tattvas, yet requires emotional authenticity and energetic space for intimacy to evolve meaningfully. With Earth Tatva Nakshatras Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Purva Bhadrapada experiences a grounding counterpart. Earth provides loyalty, sensual consistency, and relational steadiness, which allows the etheric energy of this nakshatra to feel held without being confined. These pairings are physically and practically compatible. The challenge arises if Earth becomes too literal or expects conventional romantic roles. Venus in Purva Bhadrapada may resist being emotionally defined, preferring spiritual flow over structure. With water Tatva nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Phalguni, Venus in Purva Bhadrapada finds intuitive understanding, emotional healing, and depth of feeling. Water softens ether's abstraction and encourages Venus to emotionally reveal itself. These unions often feel karmic, emotionally intricate, and highly intimate. However, if the water partner seeks emotional fusion or becomes overly dependent, Purva Bhadrapada's Venus may withdraw to preserve inner space. Balance is found when emotional exchange is rooted in spiritual alignment rather than emotional neediness. With air Tatva nakshatras, Jyeshtha, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttarashada, and Shravana, Venus in Purva Bhadrapada experiences intellectual resonance, shared detachment, and freedom within the bond. These relationships often prioritize mutual ideals, conversation, and non-intrusive emotional space. Air supports ether's high-level functioning and honors its privacy. Yet, these unions may remain conceptually intimate while lacking embodied emotional presence unless water or earth elements bring grounding. Intimacy becomes clearer when both partners are emotionally self-aware. Fire Tatva Nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Vishakha, Anuradha, and Uttara Phalguni add drive, passion, and emotional ignition to Venus in Purva Bhadrapada. Fire brings bold expression and vitality, which energizes ether's quiet romanticism. These pairings work well when there is mutual respect for difference. Fire as the expressive activator, ether as the reflective guide. Challenges arise if fire pushes for immediate action or constant emotional validation, which Purva Bhadrapada may not naturally provide. When attuned, these relationships become both transformational and deeply inspiring. With other ether tattvas, Dhanishta, Shatabisha, Ravati, and Uttara Bhadrapada, Venus in Purva Bhadrapada finds soul-mirroring connections. These unions are subtle, timeless, and often spiritually catalytic. Intimacy is not measured through constant engagement, but through presence, shared silence, and intuitive understanding. Venus here experiences unconditionality, as ether-to-ether interactions transcend physical expectations and offer nonverbal forms of love, often linked to shared karmic paths or spiritual work. Although ether is harmonizing by nature, intimacy challenges for Venus in Purva Bhadrapada emerge when a partner demands emotional conformity or neglects the nakshatra's need for sacred privacy. Earth may get too procedural, water too emotionally absorptive, fire too dominant, and air too cerebral, unless the partner honors Purva Bhadrapada's spiritual wavelength and internal emotional processing. Venus in Purva Bhadrapada resonates most fluidly with ether partners that share its karmic emotional depth, water nakshatras that intuitively flow with its soulfulness, and air nakshatras that allow its space to expand. Fire ignites transformation when tempered by patience, and earth grounds it when trust and spiritual respect are present. For intimacy to be sacred and sustainable, this Venus placement must feel emotionally safe, spiritually matched, and never forced to explain what is meant to be felt in silence. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras. Punarvasu Nakshatra. Punarvasu Nakshatra belongs to the water Tattva and is ruled by Jupiter with Aditi, the universal mother, as its deity. When Venus is placed in Punarvasu, intimacy becomes emotionally regenerative, nurturing, and guided by principles of forgiveness and emotional security. Punarvasu seeks to rebuild and restore emotional balance in relationships, often attracting or giving second chances in love. Venus here expresses affection through caring, emotional support, and a gentle yet wise presence. As a water Tatva Nakshatra, its compatibility is shaped by the nature of elemental cooperation with earth, fire, air, and ether Tattvas. Pairing with earth Tatva Nakshatras like Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha creates a naturally cooperative intimacy. Earth gives Punarvasu stability, grounding its emotional waves in physical gestures and dependable affection. These unions often feel safe and secure. Venus in Punarvasu brings nourishment, while Earth Nakshatras provide structure. The resulting intimacy has a strong rhythm, marked by patience and care. However, it may lack passion or mental stimulation unless other planetary placements introduce fire or air influences. With other water nakshatras, such as Pushya, Ashlisha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Venus in Punarvasu experiences emotional affinity, softness, and intuitive understanding. These pairings often result in deep emotional bonding and mutual compassion. However, if both partners are overly passive or emotionally dependent, intimacy may turn into emotional enmeshment or stagnation. Still, these combinations support emotional healing, making them excellent for long-term romantic closeness and psychological safety. The most frictional pairing occurs with fire Tattva nakshatras like Chitra, Swati, Vishakha, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni. Fire seeks action, assertion, and dominance in intimacy, which conflicts with the reflective and yielding nature of water. Venus in Punarvasu may feel emotionally scorched or disregarded in such relationships. While physical attraction may be high initially, fire's impatience and volatility can disrupt the emotional balance that Punarvasu thrives on, leading to imbalance or emotional retreat over time. Air Tattva nakshatras, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana also pose elemental incompatibility with Punarvasu's Venus. Air's intellectualism and preference for detachment conflict with Punarvasu's emotional intimacy needs. Communication may be present, but emotional attunement is often missing. Venus in Punarvasu may feel unseen or emotionally unfulfilled, while the air partner might feel burdened by emotional expectations. These relationships may thrive on mental companionship, but suffer in emotional and sensual bonding. Pairings with ether Tatva nakshatras, such as Ravati, Shatabisha, Danishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada provide a higher octave of intimacy. Ether supports water with spiritual openness, creating space for emotional evolution and intuitive connection. Venus in Punarvasu finds soulful reflection and transcendental bonding in these unions. Ether allows emotional experiences to be processed gently without judgment, making such relationships karmically healing and psychically harmonious. Intimacy challenges for Venus in Punarvasu become prominent when paired with fire and air tattvas. Fire's intensity may feel invasive, while air's detachment can feel dismissive. These relationships lack the emotional warmth and understanding that Punarvasu values. Over time, this results in either emotional suppression or yearning for deeper connection, leading to emotional fatigue or withdrawal, unless supported by synastry with strong Moon-Venus harmony or favorable house lords. For fulfilling intimacy, Venus in Punarvasu is best supported by water nakshatras that mirror its emotional needs and earth nakshatras that provide sensual stability and trust. Ether adds a spiritual depth that enhances Punarvasu's nurturing nature. Fire and air, despite occasional fascination or attraction, lack the emotional compatibility required for sustainable intimacy. Thus, the elemental wisdom of tattvas becomes key to honoring Punarvasu's need for emotionally restorative and compassionate connection. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Vishakha Nakshatra. Vishakha Nakshatra belongs to the fire tattva and is ruled by Jupiter, with Indra and Agni as its dual deities. When Venus is placed in Vishakha, intimacy becomes focused, driven, and purpose-laced, expressed with intensity, loyalty, and a strong desire for meaningful union. There's a blend of devotional fire and moral vision in how Venus operates here. Vishakha seeks admiration and emotional exclusivity, often giving its all in relationships. But being a fire nakshatra, its compatibility and intimacy depends on the interplay of elements when matched with other nakshatra-based personalities. With earth tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Vishakha finds solid grounding and support. Earth helps regulate Vishakha's passionate and sometimes obsessive love nature. These combinations bring physical satisfaction, reliability, and emotional steadiness, offering Venus in Vishakha the structure it needs to express its loyalty and intensity without becoming overbearing. However, Vishakha's inner drive may still push for more emotional validation than Earth is naturally inclined to offer, creating potential misalignment if affection isn't verbalized or reinforced. When paired with water Tatva Nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, emotional polarity can create friction. Water seeks flow and softness, while Vishakha brings intensity and fixity. Venus here may come across as overpowering or emotionally consuming to the more receptive water partner. Water may retreat when fire becomes too directive or prideful in intimacy. These combinations often face emotional burnout or passive resistance unless there's a conscious balance between emotional openness and energetic pacing. In combinations with other fire tattva nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Hasta, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni, Venus in Vishakha finds kindred energy. These pairings are often passionate, committed, and mutually driven. Both partners understand the need for space to grow, as well as the desire for admiration and intimacy. However, fire-fire combinations can also lead to ego clashes, control struggles, or relational burnout if emotional regulation and patience are lacking. The intensity may be high, but so is the volatility without grounding forces. With air tattva nakshatras, Mula Jeshta, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana, Venus in Vishakha enjoys mental stimulation and dynamic companionship. Air fans, fire, giving Venus the room to express without restriction. These unions often involve shared vision, idealism, and intellectual compatibility. However, air may avoid emotional depth or retreat from emotional confrontation, which can frustrate Vishakha's emotionally earnest nature. Venus here may feel undervalued or emotionally bypassed unless the partner makes consistent effort to engage beyond the surface. Ether Tattva Nakshatras, Revati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada provide the most spiritually expansive matches for Vishakha. Ether blends harmoniously with fire, uplifting Venus in Vishakha to experience devotion, sacrifice, and spiritual love. These relationships transcend physical intimacy, transforming into partnerships of mutual growth, emotional healing, and dharmic alignment. Ether helps soften Vishakha's inner pressure and expands its emotional bandwidth, making love feel both sacred and liberated. Water Tattva Nakshatra partners often struggle with Venus in Vishakha's need for intensity and clarity. Fire's directness can feel invasive or uncontainable to water's cyclical emotional flow. Over time, misunderstandings may emerge due to conflicting emotional tempos. Where fire seeks resolution and movement, water seeks absorption and process. These challenges require emotional maturity and conscious communication to sustain intimacy. Venus in Vishakha thrives best with air nakshatras that inspire and expand it, fire nakshatras that resonate with its energetic style, and ether nakshatras that elevate its romantic devotion into spiritual bonding. Earth tattvas provide safety and sensual rhythm, though may not fulfill its emotional depth unless emotionally expressive. Water, while potentially healing, tends to challenge Vishakha's emotional urgency with its subtler pace. Elemental attunement becomes vital for intimacy to remain meaningful, enduring, and emotionally mutual for Venus placed in Vishakha.